it's hard. There's so many thoughts. There's so many different ways to go, all of them negative. But this was what strikes me. It's hard to make the Jerry Jones-run Dallas Cowboys look like a sensible, smooth-running operation. That's hard to do. It's hard to make them, the Jerry Jones-run Dallas Cowboys, look and sound drama-free. It's hard to make them ever seem clear-headed and sensible. But you didn't have to leave the same city to find an organization that found a way to pull it off. The Dallas Mavericks make the Cowboys under Jerry Jones look sharp, crisp, and genius. And that's really impossible to do. Things could not go worse for the Dallas Mavericks. And this is one of those few times as an organization, picking apart an organization, picking apart anybody, sports or otherwise, doesn't matter. This is one of those times when you can say every single bit of it is your own fault. You've got no excuses, and you keep somehow making it worse. They're like a walking, talking SNL bit. They really are. The Dallas Mavericks deserve every boo, every criticism, every trash talk. There's nothing that should be off the table. I guess I'll ask the question for all of you, that I can set it up what I think is a pretty decent menu of stupid, illogical, and tone-deaf things. But here is the question. Can you think of a more tone-deaf, dysfunctional move? I can't. And I'm searching still. But can you find anything more tone-deaf and dysfunctional and stupid than what the Mavericks have done? Their stupidity has gone to a new level, and then they host the Lakers. And it's like, the lights are going to be bright. Things aren't good. But you're so tone-deaf, you've just made it worse. They host the Lakers. There's a story to that. They lost, of course. Dallas is home to one of the weirdest scenes in sports. I can't think of anything that even compares at this point because of one of the most bizarre. I think it's a one of one. I really do. I've tried to find any comparison whatsoever to what they've done. And then they just keep making things worse. But they've made one of the most bizarre and illogical moves in sports history. I can't think of another time. And I'm sure we've played this game before when the trade first happened, but I can't think of another time that a franchise traded away its best player. Okay, that by itself is pretty rare, if ever. I mean, the 49ers ended up moving Joe Montana to Kansas City when the 49ers were really good, but they also had Steve Young to replace him. And so the only similar move, and it's a lot of effort. I don't know why these weird things keep coming up in Dallas, but it's the only one I can think of, right? And then there's a big difference. So the Mavericks are fresh off a great season with Luka Doncic. Not only was he their best player, he's one of the best 3 to 5 players in the world. I think it's probably 3. Okay, it's the shortest list you can think of great players in his prime. Unlike Montana or somebody else, in his prime, playing great. A guy who liked the city, who liked the franchise. Everything seemed to be going pretty well. And they decided to trade him. And then in the process, all but said out loud, he's lazy and fat. Okay. The comparison would be, and it's still Dallas, the Cowboys traded Herschel Walker in, I think it was the trade of 1989. Okay, and then at the time, and I know it's hard to remember this, partly because he almost became a United States Senator, God help us, but he was the only good thing Dallas had that at the time. They were terrible. It's a terrible organization. It just had been bad for a few years, and Jimmy Johnson showing up didn't really, didn't change the narrative much. But the one good thing they had was Herschel Walker, who I think was coming off a 1,400-yard season. And he was, I wouldn't even say he was on the back end of his career. He was still pretty close to his prime at the time. Dallas traded him. At the time, fans were upset, but fans were still upset because it was a bad organization not winning. I think they had won one game. And Jimmy Johnson replaced Tom Landry, and so people just were kind of fed up with the Cowboys. But it was one of the few times that an organization moved off a guy coming off a really good year. I mean, was Herschel Walker the best back in the NFL? He was probably one of 5. Sure, I'll say that. And so they move him because Dallas is terrible at the time. They couldn't win with him. Okay, and that's the big difference between Luka Doncic and Herschel Walker and the Cowboys. I mean, they weren't winning with him. He was putting up yards and they were still losing. Luka Doncic was taking the Dallas Mavericks to the finals. They're a playoff team. And so I think they had one win. They traded Herschel Walker. They traded him to Minnesota for multiple picks and multiple players, and the Cowboys turned all of that stuff with one guy into multiple Super Bowl championships and a roster full of Hall of Fame players. I mean, it really is one of those times when you say the rest is history. It turned out to be a brilliant move for Dallas, an idiotic move for the Minnesota Vikings. But I don't even think that's a fair comparison. I mean, Dallas, they were desperate, and they were going nowhere fast. I mean, they're a one-win team. The Mavericks weren't in that place. So the sports part of it for the Mavericks made no sense whatsoever. None. I mean, you couldn't even find a reason to get rid of the guy. So I can't find a comparison. I really cannot find a sports organization comparison. But the move, the stupid move, that has just backfired in a spectacular way and continues to backfire in a spectacular way because of the way the Mavericks handled this. It was then all sort of brought home in the most bizarre setup. You know, people watch the Mavericks and the Lakers play just because it's weird. There was drama, there was revenge. You knew this wasn't going to go well for the Mavericks. Nobody tuned in to watch a great basketball game. People tuned in to watch a car wreck, and the Mavericks are the car wreck. And Luka Doncic, it was just a question of how many points is he going to score? Is he going to rub it in their face? Of which he didn't do it. He's handled the trade as well as you could possibly handle the trade. So the whole thing is just bizarre and weird, and they keep making it worse somehow. This is how weird things were. It was his first game back in Dallas since the trade. So I don't know how many of you watched it or listened to it, or it's fun to even try to come up with comparisons. It's also kind of entertaining to see how tone deaf they really are. The arena was full of fans cheering for the other team's best player. They gave him a standing ovation. They wanted. The arena is full of fans. I mean, tell me when you've ever seen or heard this before. I can't. The arena, or stadium, I guess, is full of fans wanting their home team to lose. They want them to lose. In fact, I think they want them to lose pretty badly. The home fans are cheering on the other team's best player. They're cheering when he does things well. They're booing their team. They showed up and ticket prices went up because the fans wanted to see their team lose. That's how badly this organization has handled things. I can't think of another example like that. I really can't. Another time when people said, I can't wait to go to the game tonight. I'll pay extra because I hope we get rolled. That's what last night was. They lost. He scored 45 points. They're lucky he didn't score more. Here's how weird it was.
We should note that, yes, Doncic is getting cheered every time by Mavericks fans, but there are a lot of Laker fans here, and they're always on the road as Doncic knocks down a three-pointer. We've got a 1-point lead, 6.5 to go in the second. James whips a pass, Hachimura. Doncic, nobody near him, and connects on a three. 21 points in 12 minutes.
You don't want to be at risk of being that 8th seed especially. But I love this about the league is that once you get down, you play 82 games, and then everybody is locked in on the final 5.
Oh, Doncic locked in from the opening tip.
Normally it's Luka over there in that left wing, but here he just has that little delay. He kind of looks, see how much time, and then
Doncic gets inside. Reverse shot rattles around and goes in. He's got 40.
I mean, they are out of control cheering for the guy. I mean, if you just played the audio to anyone, they say, wow, it's a big playoff game, a home game for the Lakers. No. That's in Dallas. They're cheering on the other guy to school them. He couldn't score enough to satisfy the fans. It's just so bizarre. And it kept getting weirder and weirder because the franchise keeps getting dumber and dumber. How about this? This is, not to make it even easier, this is the head coach of the Lakers, J.J. Redick. He seems to be poking fun of the Mavericks.
Start by saying the moment with the tribute video and him sitting by himself and getting to actually live that and live in the moment and allowing himself to be vulnerable and his teammates supporting. Some of his teammates got emotional. Some of the coaches got emotional. It was a beautiful moment. I thought the video was great, but I think just his ability to then go perform, lights turn on. He's teary-eyed still as we walk out on the court for the tip ball. To have the emotional resolve to then go put on that kind of performance, it's superhuman.
Follow up on Luka, you know, as a former teammate, and then you spent years watching him. He's known to rise to big moments, I suppose it's fair to say, but to be able to do it on top of the emotional setting, is that kind of a different level?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to get 50. I was disappointed.
Okay, if somebody just tried to piece all this together, you would say, wait, Jeff, what did the guy do wrong? Is he got some issues in Dallas? No. See, they played a video tribute to him, and he cried sitting on the bench. I think that's weird. I really do. Not the fact that he cried, but I mean, I don't. We could disagree on this. I think it did not help the Mavericks. I don't think it was a smart move to play a video tribute of the guy right before he's going to torch you, given the fact that the people hate you already. You've made him, in other words, you've just brought it home. He wasn't a screw up. He was a great player. I've never seen anyone just get rid of somebody who wanted to be there, who wasn't a problem, who wasn't screwing things up, and you were winning, and they got rid of him and then thought, you know what I'm going to do? This is how tone deaf I think they are. I think this move was tone deaf. I have no problem, the coach or general manager is another issue, coming out and saying, listen, the guy's a great player. We appreciate everything he's done. You know, enjoy watching him or something like that. To put together a tribute video knowing he's about to kick your ass and knowing that your home fans are going to love every second of it didn't seem like a great idea to me. That seems weird. I don't even know who sits in the meetings for this organization. I don't know of anyone, and I'll point out something else. I don't know of anyone who would sit in a meeting saying, hey, what do you guys want to do? We're headed toward the playoffs again. We have one of the three best players on the planet. What would you like to do? Let's get rid of him? Okay, let's do that. Then somebody in the office says, well, why are we getting rid of him? I don't know. But I'm going to call him fat and lazy just to make sure everyone hates us. Meeting's over. Have a great day, everyone. It's nuts. Like I said, it's nuts. It makes Jerry Jones seem coherent, and that's impossible to do. I don't know where the checks and balances are in that organization. I don't know anyone who didn't say, boss, can we talk for just a second? It really is going to backfire. Just so you know, he's going to kick our ass, and people like him, and they're really going to hate us because things aren't been going so great in this city. You know what? We kind of got a winner going, and maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't get rid of the guy. We're a hot ticket right now. Maybe we shouldn't do that, boss. And they did it, and then decided, Even though I said, this is the general manager, said terrible things, implied terrible things about him. And not terrible as in he's fat and lazy. That's it. Is he fat and lazy? Apparently not. I don't know how many people would take fat and lazy with 50 points every game. I think most people would take that. It's absurd. So then they do the video. He lights them up. Everyone cheers. And then they start chanting. They do this regularly in Dallas now. And I've never heard this. I've never heard collective chants. Most people don't even know who a general manager is other than Jerry Jones, right? That's about the only one you know of. You never hear of the general manager, rarely, unless you're a real nerd. But they know him by first name, and they can't stand the guy, and they collectively boo him most of the night.
2 wins, and J.J. Redick's team will get the 3rd spot. For Dallas, a win tonight, and they'll clinch a play-in. The Lakers still can land anywhere from 3 to 8 in this wacky Western Conference. So this is an enormous game for them for their playoff hopes.
Okay, there's a lot going on there, and I assume it's intentional. They're chanting, "Fire Nico." Nico is the general manager who had the brilliant idea of firing the guy and probably had the extra brilliant idea of putting together a video before he kicked their ass. I assume because they've... At one moment, just to prove to you how dumb and tone deaf they are, they had the brilliant idea early on when people would chant "Fire Nico," they would try to have them removed from the arena. And then they did the extra genius move and they raised the ticket prices. It's like a handbook of stupidity. There's this book, it's one of my favorites. It's called Effed Companies. That's the title of the book. And it's nothing but section after section of stupid things companies do. The Mavericks are chapter 1. They aren't, but they should be. It's shocking. It's so stupid. So they're chanting "Fire Nico" this whole time. I think they're having the screaming voice strip club announcer trying to talk over them. That's what I think. I think they've instructed that guy, when they start booing me, would you do that strip club thing that you do and say, "Come on, Mavericks," or whatever? Scream, play, I don't know, pour sugar on me, whatever you do, just start screaming to try to drown out the fact that they're saying "fire me." Because you can hear him start up. Play it again, Brandon. You can hear the guy. You can hear the screaming voice, the big voice, tractor pull guy start his bit about the time they start chanting "Fire Nico."
2 wins, and J.J. Redick's team will get the 3rd spot. For Dallas, a win tonight, and they'll clinch a play-in. The Lakers still can land anywhere from 3 to 8 in this wacky Western Conference. So this is an enormous game for them for their playoff hopes.
I feel like somebody's nearby going, "Cue the stripper voice. Cue him. Tractor pull. Go, go, go. Start." Okay, then there's this one moment just to prove to you how weird it is. If you could just, and it's out there, it's viral now, and he had to know it would be viral, and I don't blame him a bit. Mark Cuban owned the Dallas Mavericks for a long time. Excellent owner, got him a championship. Is just so into it. Has said publicly when he's been asked, he sold the team, controlling interest of the team, to the Adelson family, which is a whole story about casinos and politics and stuff like that. Sells the team to the Adelson family. And, of course, he's been asked. He's an outspoken guy. He's asked, "Would you have done this?" And he said, "That's crazy. Of course not." So when this is going on, at one point during the Mavericks and the Lakers, I'm sure as Luka Doncic is just firing up threes and the crowd's going nuts for him, Mark Cuban has his head down. And he is looking straight down. He's all but curled up in a ball, nodding back and forth as if to say, if you could put a bubble above his head, it had to be, how could anybody be this blanking stupid? You can feel it. I can't believe what they've done and how they're handling this. somehow the Mavericks found a way to do the dumbest thing I can think of in sports in modern times, and then make it worse with comments, video tributes, etc. Jason Kidd is their head coach. What's he supposed to do? Right? It's not been a good spot for him. He probably, I don't know, an argument could be made that he probably should have said, listen, you trade that guy, I'm out. I'm going to get my stuff, I'm out. You're crazy. This is nuts. But he's trying to hang in there. He's a quiet guy. He's good at what he does. He didn't have exactly the greatest moment. You know what he did? And I don't know what else he's supposed to say, but probably say less would be a good idea. He went Babe Ruth on everyone. That's how weird the night ended up. Jason Kidd, the head coach of the Mavericks. He's asked about, here's his comments. With 77, that's Luka Doncic's number, there's a lot of hope, right? With Luka, there's always a lot of hope. This is business. You know, it happens, right? Trades happen. If you could just stop there and say, why did yours? What were you thinking? He goes on to say, again, trying to make sense of this, he says, this won't be the last trade. You know, someone compared it to Babe Ruth. That's kind of cool. Wait, what? Is that the only comparison we have? Because I think that seems pretty silly. That would be the Red Sox trading Babe Ruth, right? And then, of course, led to one of the most famous, quote, curses in all of sports for the Red Sox. So it's a little odd that he would, on that night when everything went wrong and they're embarrassed and tone deaf, it'd be a little odd that he would make reference to the greatest curse in sports history. But he did. He went on to say, when you look at the business of sports, change happens. When change happens, it's the ones who can carry on and keep moving forward. Those are the special people. Oh, boy. We have hope in that locker room. Yeah. No, you don't. No. You are shockingly dumb and then amazingly tone deaf.